Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this morning's whiteboard meeting, sponsored as always by glassshop.com.au. I've come here from the future to tell you a couple of things. First of all, the time travel exists. Second of all, you are like tiny little ants and we could squish you without even thinking. And third of all, we are trying to help you, but you are not helping yourselves. Okay, the first step to help yourselves is to admit that you need help. Okay, it's a wonderful feeling to understand that you need help and to seek it out and to, listen to kind voices that seem to be materializing in and out of time-space continuum to show you the reality of your decision-making process. Okay, you are on what is called a linear time pathway. Okay, you are here, or your predecessors were here, and you have a future in mind, and you are unimpeded, step by step, walkie on this unimpeded pathway. Okay, you feel like this is order, control, and beautiful certainty. Certainty being the most important concept when I tell you this. You believe that certainty means an unimpeded, step-by-step, walkity from one door to another, and you arrive. Okay? This is all wrong. Okay? What you have done is this is like a big pile of garbage. Okay? If you have piled up high a big pile of garbage, and it is stinky and it is ruining the whole world. Because of the stupid, I chuck the garbage out of the bucket on top of the oh, my daddy did this, and my daddy's daddy done this too, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm Anthony Albanese, and I'm the Prime Minister of Australia, don't you know? And I get right down in the muck, and I get me bucket, and I walk up the pile of garbage, and I pour it on the top of the bucket pile, and I'm a clever boy. I'm a clever boy. Is a Roman Nazi saluting Prime Minister Anthony Albanese is bringing the Roman Empire back and we're piling the garbage up on top of the country that used to be called. It used to be called Australia. And I'm here to inform you this morning. I have tirelessly gone through the archives of the British Empire, and I found that, yes, we indeed still own this patch of land, and it is indeed still referred to as Australia. And we'd quite like all the litterers. Now, all of you, that includes you, Mr. Albanese, it's time for rubbish duty. Everybody picks up 10 pieces of rubbish and puts it in the bin, or we don't have lunch. None of you eat. And you should be wearing a hat outside, Mr. Albanese. You really should. Until you all pick up 10 pieces of rubbish and put it in the bin, you will not be able to eat today. There will be no lunch served. Okay? And if you really don't listen, there'll be no cars to drive you home, and your key won't open the lodge door when you get home. Do you understand? This is Australia, not a rubbish tip. And you've put rubbish all over the place. And I'm going to tell you the main thing. See, this is what happens. When we're an empire, which the British Empire is, okay, what we can do is we can explain things free from patent protection and commercial law and, I don't know, contracts and government contracts and legislation and regulations and all this thing, because our main job is to make sure
that unlike your current Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, AA, isn't it? AA. That stands for Alcoholics Anonymous as well. Anyway, unlike Anthony Albanese, we don't want Australia to turn into a rubbish tip. So we're gonna scrub him out. Goodbye. Goodbye, rubbish tip. And we're going to explain the future of Australia. Okay? Now, Australia is a dry place due to climatic factors, the sun, the latitude, longitude, environmental impact, coastal air currents and things like that, degradation of flora and fauna and canopy of the evaporation, spirulina, all these things. Australia is a hot, dry country and it's rather large, and we use about 1% of it. Okay? 1% of Australia. And that's what has turned into a garbage tip under the care of the Australian Labor Party and Anthony Albanese. Okay? So as a representative of the 99% still firmly maintained under the British Empire, I'm going to scrub out Mr. Albanese's 1% here, and I'm going to explain a little fact about the water, the water. What's it called? I wasn't very good at school. The water, where water is there and then it evaporates and goes into the sky and it makes rain, and then the rain clouds come over and it drips down and goes down, and the water cycle. The water cycle, okay? Now, 99%, now these aren't exact figures, 99% of our water that lands in Australia is misused, majoritively on lawns. And under Anthony Albanese's tutelage, his instructions are to be a slave for 30, 40, 50 years plus to a unsustainable, unregulated, horrific concentration camp suburban outcrop. And then your number one status symbol is to be the square rectangular patch of green thing at the front of that. And you are instructed to spray copious amounts of poisonous chemicals on that and waste copious gigaliters of water in I don't know, cultivating some type of postage stamp green flag of absolute stupidity. And then you are supposed to drive your gas guzzling or your coal guzzling automobile around the place, and as long as you can get to the Singaporean outsourced polling booth and make sure you vote for the colour red, you will be able to maintain your citizenship status as a ... I don't know. I think that's something along the lines of their rhetoric that they're spewing out from every orifice, every screen, every billboard, every bus stop, every fucking prison cell, whatever, all that stuff, right? It's funny that they're basically like, we use, this is their in their subnotes, we use the most hyper developed information weapon system against our own population, and then we're hoping to ban it so that no one can use it except us, so that we can continue that while no one else in the world notices something ... fill in the blanks. Anyway, horrible fucking business, this communism. Where I come from in the future, communism is up there with Genghis Khan. It's up there with Hitler. It is well and truly, forged its position in the most horrific mistakes humanity has ever made. So, there's always got to be a losing team, and there's always got to be a losing person as the leader of that losing team. And today, on this day, and all days, that is Anthony Albanese, the Prime Minister of the Australian Labor Party. I think that's the best way to call it here, because there's so many words. The attack on language has been really horrific. So Anthony Albanese, the official Prime Minister of the Australian Labor Party, not Australia, of the Australian Labor Party. Something that, a bit like that bloke with the sunglasses and whatever his name was, I can't remember his name. He had a party as well, and it was about 6 million times less horrific than the Australian Labor Party, which is a fucking hot mess. You don't want to be at that party. That's worse than an Epstein party, to be honest. The Australian Labor Party has decimated this country, unfortunately. But I'm here to tell you the future, what the future looks like. It looks a lot different, because we need to think outside of the box that the Australian Labor Party has put us all in. And we need to be reminded that we can leave the box, first of all. So I'm here to tell you, first of all, you have complete permission to leave the box that the Australian Labor Party attempted to put you in, because that box just turns into a coffin that is thrown into a fucking, into a deep mass grave that the Australian Labor Party is attempting right now to cover up. But it is going to be unable to do that because, as I said, 100-year intelligence operation to combat this, meticulously document this, defend it where possible, and then, of course, completely overthrow it and push back this horrific enemy from the once glorious nation known as Australia. Okay, so what we're going to do, we have Australia, we have sun, right? We have pretty good roads, okay? They're black. When sun hits black, it's hot. Are you all following? When the sun hits black, equals hot. Our roads are black. That's why they call it the blacktop. That's the blacktop, right? We are an island nation, which means we are I won't include the island formerly known as Tasmania, or still known as Tasmania, on this, because that is not part of Australia. That is an independent international nation referred to as Tasmania. But this big rock here in the middle is an island called Australia, and it's surrounded by H2O, water. And it's kind of H2O in solution with sodium. Is it sodium carbonate? I can't remember. Chemistry wasn't my strong point. Anyway, it's surrounded by water, right? When you run water through a coil, perhaps buried on our blacktop, under our blacktop roads, it creates steam, which can be used to utilize energy. And it can also be then, when the steam comes out, it makes all this energy, and then it condenses as fresh water, and the sodium kind of boils out. Now, there's a lot of intricate engineering, of course, involved in this, because the main troubling point is that the sodium condenses on the inside of the pipes. So, funnily enough, this will probably involve open water. I don't know. It involves something. I'll let you all figure that out. But basically, you run the ocean through our roads or underneath our roads. It turns into steam. We produce power from the steam, and we produce fresh water. And at the same time, we should plant trees everywhere else, gigantic trees that we should link together with gigantic cables to create a second tier, right? Like an atrium, when you have a grand courtyard, and so that the sun hits inside the courtyard, and then you get multiple stories all have sunlight. We can create these niches with a treetop canopy, and we can just, as the trees grow, we have an entire second story, beautiful opening up atrium, 3-dimensional, ecologically sound urban development with copious amounts of fresh water, more power and energy than you could ever hope to dream about, and a complete reduction in the hideous scourge of communism. This will enable us all to develop individual kind of niche commercial capitalist ventures, or perhaps voluntary care and assistance. Perhaps we can, I don't know, renew the age-old tradition of caring for our own elderly within our own family structures and reinforce the importance of that, and reject kind of mass solutions and communal enforcement, because basically this is the best metaphor I can think of, right? This is what this 1% communist insanity is trying to basically recreate, is a bill splitting. So it's like you've got 20 people out for dinner, and you're all trying to split the bill at the end of the day, and you didn't even want to go to the fucking dinner because you've got your own fucking beautiful homegrown steak and vegetables, or lamb stew or lamb soup or lentils or whatever soup at home, and you basically didn't even want to go into the stupid fucking urban concentration camp, and you sat down there. You only had a fucking a small little entree, and fucking big old fucking John Setka from the CFMEU gobbled up a fucking 6 T-bones, 17 beers, fucking 2 lines of cocaine, and God knows what else. Rode his fucking Mustang in there, and fucking included the fuel costs into the tab. And it's a fucking joke, really, isn't it? Would everyone agree that that's a fucking joke? Especially the fact that these marvelous fucking construction and engineering and fucking governmental masterminds have missed the most obvious fucking infrastructure potential in Australian history, in world, global, fucking international time traveling, multiverse fucking time. It's anyway. So that's why every now and then humanity, Australia, the internet, whatever, needs a little helping hand. And that's why we decide occasionally to break all conventions, put down the international ban against time travel and multiverse travel and multidimensional travel and, interstellar fucking navigation, and we just gently, bet you didn't know that was there. Bet you didn't know that was there. Better get rid of your Prime Minister and that Labor Party and walk swiftly into the future. I think, just quietly, I think that might be a good idea. Righto. So now that all the official proceedings are done, I'm just going to find somewhere here. Where is it? Oh. I'm going to try and find the Bible, but I can't seem to find it this morning. So I'm going to read, I don't know, from this. I brought this back, I think, The Covenant of the Flame. I'm pretty sure I brought this back from Tasmania, but I could be wrong. I forget things all the time. When you're traveling in this way, you forget things, but I'm pretty sure I brought it back. And it was in one of those libraries that people have outside, of the little mini libraries. They're wonderful. They exist in all timelines, because a book is a beautiful thing. Despite this is a misconception that everyone thinks, because of the digital whatever futuristic time travel thing, that we don't. A book is never out of fashion. Okay. So I'm going to flick randomly to a page, read a verse, and then I'm going to end this broadcast. And I'm going to wish you all the best. And of course, like as always, I will see you in the future. All right. In the pantry, Priscilla's voice shook, next to the refrigerator. I'm getting it. Tess scrambled past the fridge and yanked open a door. Next to the shelves of boxes and cans, the fire extinguisher was mounted to a clamp on the wall. She rammed her pistol under her belt, grabbed the fire extinguisher with one hand, released the clamp with the other, then pulled out the pin that secured the extinguisher's level and spun towards the flames, gushing from beneath and eating through the overturned table. Desperate, sorry, again, I'm not a very good reader. Desperate, she aimed the extinguisher's nozzle, pressed the lever down, and spewed a thick white spray towards the blaze. Foam gushed all over the table, over the flames. Coughing from smoke, Tess inwardly shouted in triumph as the flames diminished. And that's right. I bet you didn't know the capabilities, the full capabilities, the unseen but always present capabilities of the volunteer bushfire brigade that exists in all states, all territories, all regions, all everything in this fine country known as Australia, and the other fine country that I am representing today known as Tasmania. And we are always on watch for reckless behaviour to do with fire. Okay? And that exists in, we put out fires, we fight fires out there in the thing, and we also we do preventative maintenance so that fires are less likely to bring devastation that we've seen on some of the worst occasions in this country up to date. And I can tell you that as long as these strategies of abundant water, responsible management of tree canopies and responsible development, responsible education, responsible everything, responsibility, it's a bit of a cool thing in the future, okay? I know there's a little, in your timeline, there's a bit of a rebel without a cause, mystique, and I'm not a bad boy, but there is a bad boy aspect to responsibility as well, especially when you're combating a totalitarian system of incompetence and neglect. So on that note, I'm going to sign off again. Wish you all the best for the future. And keep doing all right down under.